Hey everyone, this is Movies Please with a look at the new movie Scoob. This was meant to be Scooby-Doo's big return to the big screen. Of course, circumstances changed that and it ended up getting a video-on-demand release over the weekend. As many of you know, Scoob and the Mystery Incorporated gang were introduced in the 1960s, the late 1960s, and since that time, they've been rebooted probably more than any one person knows. For my generation, I guess the biggest events in this franchise were Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island in 1998, which was pretty good, and the live-action Scooby-Doo movie in 2002, not so much. But both of those movies launched a new chapter for those meddling kids and their dog. This new movie, Scoob, is considerably different from those other movies, which is both good and bad. The movie begins showing how Shaggy and Scooby met and became best buds early in their lives. And there's a reason Warner Brothers has been promoting that first 5 minutes so heavily, because it's a genuinely moving scene. Shortly afterward, they meet a young Fred, Daphne, and Velma, and I was hoping for some references to the pup named Scooby-Doo series, but oh well. From there, the movie transitions into them as young adults, and we get a fantastic recreation of the intro to the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You series. If the entire movie had been like those scenes I just described, I would have loved this movie so much. It might have been my favorite Scooby-Doo movie of all time. And I don't even mean on a nostalgia level. Those scenes are just plain charming and very funny. That said, I think this movie can be broken down by eras of the Scooby-Doo franchise, going back to 1969, and I'll explain what I mean. What we just saw, that first 10 minutes or so, was the Scooby-Doo Where Are You era. Then the movie transitions into the next phase of Scooby-Doo's legacy, the new Scooby-Doo movies, introduced in 1972. It was an hour-long TV series in which Scoob and the gang solved a mystery with help from a celebrity who played him or herself. And here in this new movie, we get Simon Cowell. Why of all the possible celebrities is it Simon Cowell? No idea. I love Cowell as a judge. I think he's a great music producer. But between Scoob and Shrek 2's Far, Far Away idol, I just don't think he's at his best voicing animated characters. And also for some reason, Cowell's character design is more realistic than that of the other characters. And I checked online to see if anyone else thought this, and some are saying it was an intentional reference to the 1972 show, how celebrities in that show looked more realistic than Scooby and Shaggy. But still, Cowell's appearance here leans too heavily into the uncanny valley, and you shouldn't have to research an old TV show to understand or appreciate why. That's like having to explain a joke, which means it doesn't work. So Cowell suggests that Mystery Incorporated ditch Shaggy and Scooby in order to take their business to the next level. Distraught by that suggestion, Shaggy and Scooby, they go bowling where they're attacked by robots, and rescued by the Blue Falcon, Dee Dee Sykes, and Dynamite. These superheroes inform the duo that another Hanna-Barbera staple, the evil Dick Dastardly, on a mission to capture Scooby, and this is where I have to mention a mild spoiler. Dastardly believes that Scooby is the key to unlocking the underworld and saving his canine companion Muttley. And yes, Scooby historians will recognize those last two plot points as nods toward the next phases of Scooby's legacy. There was a Scooby-Doo Dynamite Hour shown in 1976, and the Hanna-Barbera crossover series Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics in 1977. Again, the movie's plot seems to travel across each era of Scooby's history. Kind of makes you wonder if the sequel will introduce Scrappy as real life did in the late 1970s. Now, if at this point you're thinking this review is referencing a whole lot of stuff, yep, sure is. And that's the pro and the con of this movie, Scoob. It's a reboot for kids unfamiliar with Mystery Incorporated and other Hanna-Barbera properties, and it's also a love letter to other characters for people 30 and up. But problem is those two audiences are very different, obviously, and the movie never finds the balance it quite needs to pull this off. And I can't fault the movie for trying. It's a movie you might like, and your kids might like, but for different reasons. And while a whole lot of people might like the movie, I don't know if anybody will love it. Not to mention there's the issue of Shaggy and Scooby being apart from Fred, Daphne, and Velma for most of the movie. This is their anticipated return to the big screen, and the movie keeps them apart for most of the runtime. Personally, I wish they'd just gone for a more traditional Scooby story. I get why they didn't. After umpteen hundred Scooby direct-to-video movies and TV shows, Warner Brothers was probably afraid audiences wouldn't find the property special enough to go to the theater to see, and hence they tried to maybe turn this into a Hanna-Barbera universe flick, make it a little more special, toss in the Blue Falcon to make it a superhero movie. The thing is, most of us don't watch all that Scooby-Doo media. We don't have time to watch Scooby-Doo 35, Scooby-Doo and the Mutant Marshmallows from Mars, or whatever the latest direct-to-video movie is called. Most of us only watch the big event Scooby movies, like Zombie Island, like the 2002 live-action flick, like this movie. So yeah, for a big screen CGI reboot, making this movie just a standard Mystery Incorporated flick might have been a better route. But I digress. Scoob was animated by Real Effects, who did Book of Life. They do a solid job translating these hand-drawn characters into computer animation, and they modernized them while keeping them faithful to their original designs. I like that. Tony Cervantes took on directing duties. He helped him and write some of the direct-to-video Scooby-Doo movies. Also been behind several recent Tom and Jerry movies. The guy knows a lot about classic Hanna-Barbera and Warner Brothers animation. As for the voice acting, Will Forte does a decent job as Shaggy, better than I was expecting, but he just doesn't have that classic Shaggy voice. And that means there's an emotional disconnect when he's referencing past adventures for us fans at home, because we can't help but continually hear and notice Shaggy, this Shaggy, isn't that Shaggy. And nothing wrong with change, nothing wrong with that, of course, but it is just something that kind of stays on your mind throughout the movie. Because Forte, again, doing a fantastic job in his own right, but he doesn't have that scratchy, iconic Shaggy voice. Frank Welker doing a Scooby again, fine as always. I always prefer Don Messick, but Welker does an admirable job. The rest of the voice cast does fine. Zac Efron as Fred, Gina Rodriguez as Velma, Seyfried as Daphne. Again, none of them really sound like the classic versions of the characters, but you don't notice it, or really you don't care as much as you do with Forte as Shaggy. I do take a little issue with how Fred is portrayed here as just a dumb meathead. He jokes that he's ignorant because he's, and I quote, an American male, and at one point a character labels him with toxic masculinity, and I don't want to get into all that, but, you know, come on. The standout in the cast is Mark Wahlberg as Blue Falcon, and all that said, the best aspect of this movie is the dynamic between man and man's best friend. You have the friendships between Shaggy and Scooby, between Blue Falcon and Dynamite, between Dick Dastardly and Muttley. Shaggy needs a friend and finds one in Scooby. Blue Falcon is trying to live up to his dad's legacy, finds encouragement through Dynamite. And Dick Dastardly, who more than lives up to his name, is a villain who will destroy the world just to get back his faithful sidekick, Muttley. That message of friendship between man and man's best friend, so to speak, is at the heart of Scoob. It's too bad that the movie often pushes all that aside to build a cinematic universe, although I do think it does a better job than many other attempts at cinematic universes. In the end, Scoob is a solid movie that harkens back to the days of events like the Flintstones meet the Jetsons. For the nostalgia-seeking adults, that might be enough. For kids who don't care that they're getting or not getting certain references, that might be enough. Personally, I wish Warner Brothers had just gone for a more straightforward Scooby movie. So overall, I'd give Scoob 2.5 out of 4 stars. What did you think of Scoob? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please click like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, link in the description. Until next time, this has been Movies Please. Thanks for watching.